Well, thank you, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Stephen Rand, and I'm the Executive Director of apexart. I'm here with two of my staff members, Julia Knight and Elizabeth Lariason. I want to thank Atif and Dilek, first of all, for organizing the show. They've done an amazing job, and to thank all of the artists for joining us as well. One of the interesting things about an Apex exhibition is that we don't make the selection. So we did not choose this exhibition. We had about 500 submissions. Each year we do 2 open calls, and please consider submitting a proposal to us. And there were about 450, I think, submitted for this. We have a jury of about 150 people around the world that participate in judging each of them, so that the selection process, not done by us, is a very, very fair process. If you have the time and the desire, please consider being one of our jurors. Write to us, and we will hook you up and give you a username and password. We do, as I say, 2 open calls. One for shows in New York City, and 1 for shows anywhere in the world that you can propose. The exhibition, we are not a grant-giving organization, but they are actually apexart exhibitions. In the past couple of years, we've done shows in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Mexico, in Peru, in Palestine. So our shows are not imported shows. We don't ship American artists, Chinese artists, or German artists to the location. The people that organize the shows make the selections, and the shows reflect the locations where they are, and this is very important. Our brochure, which is different from the zines that were done by the artists, should be upstairs maybe. And you'll see that they also are printed in 3 languages this time, Arabic, Turkish, and English. We tried very hard, unusual for an American institution, not to put our pressures on you, but rather to learn as much as we can in these processes. Please go on to apexart.org, look at what we do. If you have any criticism about anything you see there or anything we're doing here, please let us know. And I think I'm going to hand over to the panel and let them take up your time. Thank you very much for coming.
A lot of artists. But as you can imagine, we have a very long list to thank to. So I would like to start with Dilek, who took all the risks and embarked on this collaborative endeavor. And from the beginning, and all the participating artists, of course, writers and researchers who took part in the project. And Julia, starting from the proposal project stage. And now they are all the way down to Istanbul and here with us, along with November and Merve. All 3 of them basically made this possible. And obviously we're indebted to Stephen Rand and Vas Korten for their vision in contemporary art and trust in this tricky idea. And Elizabeth, who is also with us, and Ryan Soper of apexart, and all South production team, and Sani Bey, who did all the physical work in the space. I mean, among all the support we got, I have to say we had 2 heroes in the project. One is the Turkish-English translator, Emre Koyuncu, and also Ali Emre Doğramacı. Not only he designed the trilingual visual concept, but also worked meticulously with all the artists for the zines and also for the whole trilingual exhibition design concept. So they basically saved the world for us in the last 3 months. And Rasha Arabi, Dua Sheet, Shiar Neo, they worked with us for Arabic translations, and Nare Shakyan translated the Armenian copies for us. And of course, every time, our Arabic-speaking artists supported us, they helped us a lot on the way for the translations or proofreads. And Altar, Hamish, Pınar Öğrenci, Pages Bookstore, and Zeynep Öz helped us a lot throughout the research stage of the project over the summer in Istanbul. So last but not least, I would like to thank Halit Zwick and Güven Ciloğlu for their wisdom. Okay, so I want to talk about this story a little bit. This story actually started 5 years ago when Dilek asked me to make a zine for Kayısı Kent. So back then there was no focus, like there was no specific subject, but we could come up with any idea which will work in this urban scape. So, but I was very thrilled by the idea of this zine project and the name. So the name is coming from the PVC pushcart vendors, and they're usually from Malatya, and we know Malatya is the apricot city in Turkey. So the name coming from the bus company, Kayısı Kent, between Malatya and Istanbul. So I wanted to research a little about apricot, and I found out that actually apricot is in Latin it's considered as Prunus armeniacans, which means Armenian plum. And so, but we know it as more like a Malatya because it's an Armenian city also. And in our language we have the apricots from Damascus. So anyway, I wanted to take this as a chance to work on a project that I was already involved in. So it's like a little area between Turkey and Armenian border. It's a radioactive site, so I made some sort of a urban myth scene in the first place. So which is about the radiation and the goats invading Istanbul. So it was kind of a fun project. But then this apricot idea kept coming back, and in the same year I moved from Istanbul to New York. And for a couple of years, I didn't have any contact with Istanbul, really. Like, I was trying to establish my own projects over there. But I kept hearing about, like, I was in touch with friends and family, and all the time, like, I would hear stories from about the immigrants, refugees coming to Turkey. And whoever I talked to, they said, like, oh, Istanbul changed a lot. There are a lot of refugees fleeing Syria and Iraq. So. And first I heard the stories of the camps in Southeast Anatolia, then Antep, then Izmir, then finally Istanbul. So all these stories and curiosity about the situation, so without witnessing in the first person, triggered my interest in migration and exile. So when these stories started taking the backdrop as the urban landscape in Istanbul, so I also got curious about the artists. It was subject of small talk with artists and friends going back and forth between Istanbul and New York. But until Pınar Öğrenci's journalistic piece, in which she got together a dinner party with artists who fled Syria to Istanbul, I haven't heard a concise story about these people. So in March 2015, we teamed up with Dilek, and we applied to apexart grant, apexart's franchise exhibition program. And after the process that Stephen had already explained in detail, our idea was qualified for a point exhibition. So our initial proposal was well received, and we started researching in the city over the summer in Istanbul, so meeting people, organizations, and thinking of other references. So apricots actually, not only as a symbolic figure, but also as a botanical element, its trade routes and history became one of the defining concepts, sometimes directly, sometimes contextually. So colonial art journals from the 19th century tells us more about the apricot and commerce and the art. So you will see some apricots and plants in this exhibition, whether fresh or flourishing, or rotten or dried, like, for example, in Armina's video with the rotten apricots, or like Nadia's flourishing flowers, or my dried apricot. So with the geopolitical answer, throughout the research of the concept development, Said's reflections on the origin and creativity in exile and insights about the Western civilization had kept coming back as our main reference all throughout the process of this exhibition. So I believe you will find his light in all of the works, whether as a direct reference, or a geopolitical one, or an historical, or even an Orientalist one. So with the geopolitical origin and art in exile as the side bones, language is the backbone of this exhibition. So not only because we spent pretty much all our time and money on trilingual translations, but also it was important that some artists responded directly to language, like Mariana's Proverbs, or Ferhat's Publishing Practices Index, or Güven's piece, What is a Language? So artists told stories in these three languages. Regardless of the context of the stories, we enjoyed the translations as much as their visual frameworks, such as in Marva's dance school story or Aras' heroic Black Sea character. So to all these three reoccurring themes, Istanbul is the backdrop to the exhibition and sometimes directly as a part of the piece, like Dilek and Hera's EV story, or video installation by Pınar Öğrenci, which observes trilingual and typographic transformation in 5 different neighborhoods in Istanbul. So finally, I'd like to say a few more words about the format of the project. So the zine as a format had been very interesting to me because I teach design and media arts at an art school, and I try to approach design as a self and research-driven art practice, and oftentimes I would like designers to question the practice. Why do we publish? So just the basic instinct of publishing, why do we do that? And actually André Breton gave the answer in 1920. So first I came across this saying in a book by Alexander Ludovica that discusses the mutation of publishing in the post-digital era. And then it's reappeared in a Kunstverein project, Paris project reading room in November 2014. And so we published in 3 languages because we are looking for formats who go beyond the natural political borders of nationality, country, or the city. And also, like zines, not only as a publication, also work as confined thinking space for the artist with minimum dependency on a network and resources. So this basically circles back to us, the Edward Said's notion of art in exile, where a person has to have minimum dependencies on a social network or any kind of physical belongings. So also exhibition space gave the artist a chance to transpose the 2-dimensional ideas, and also the exhibition art itself works as a social space, as now, to bring together all the artists, researchers, and writers, and so I would like to pass on to Dilek.
Thank you for your introduction. Actually, it's really a pleasure to have all the artists and writers who participated in the project. So thank you to SALT and apexart for making this possible. I would like to thank, it will be a repeat, but I still would like to repeat it. I would like to thank Stephen, Julia, Elizabeth of apexart for all their support and help. Also, I would like to express my gratitude to Vasif and November of SALT. They've been really supportive. Also, Merve Elveren. She's been wonderful during the installation period of the exhibition, and all the SALT team. I would like to thank the artists and writers who contributed to our project for their generosity. As Atif said, we printed 16 different issues in 3 languages. So the work that the translators did were really amazing. So a special thanks goes to them. The range also included translations into Armenian and also translation from German into Turkish and then into English and then finally into Arabic. So that included like a chain of translations. So the translators Emre Koyuncu, Şiar Neo, Mustafa Tüzel have been really wonderful. Also Superpool helped us for the design of the exhibition area. So thanks goes to them. And also Şenay Özden, Zeynep Kıvılcım and Seda Altu shared their knowledge and experience with us. And that was really, really wonderful. Also, last but not least, Zeynep Öz, Asena Günal, Meltem Alska, Sinan Kılıç, and also Kristin Töme helped me quite a lot. They responded to all my emergency calls during the project, which were quite a few, I must say. I would like to say a few things about my involvement in this project briefly. Apricots from Damascus is based on Apricots City A4, which is a funding project that I initiated back in March 2010. Over a year and a half, I distributed 12 issues, each made by a different artist or writer. These fanzines were copied and distributed by the street vendors who provide laminating and photocopying services on the streets of Istanbul. The vehicle used by these vendors is a multifunctional design wonder. It's an anonymous design. It combines a photocopy machine, a laminator, a car stereo, and a generator on wheels. The fanzine Kayısı Apricots City A4, cling to the mobile photocopier network like a benign parasite. I call it a parasite as it coexisted in an already existing network. I borrowed the name Apricots City from the vendors themselves. Most of the vendors are immigrants from Malatya. As Atif explained, Malatya is famous for its apricots. And they had signs written on their vehicles as Apricots City 1, Apricots City 2, so that was like among them, that was part of their network. My motto back then was that there is no address, merely a possibility. The artists who participated in Apricots City A4 between March 2010 and December 2011 are Evrim Kavcar, Burak Bedenlier, Nalan Yurtmaç, Stefan Kur, Delfin Rigav, Yasemin Özcan, Antrepo, which is a collective that Atif is involved in, Burak Delier, Jorge Mendes Blake, Yahya Madra and Ceren Özselçuk, and Balca Ergener. As for this new project, last spring, Atif approached me and asked whether I'd be interested in working on a new fanzine project with him. I thought that would be really interesting, as the dynamics in the urban space of Istanbul are very different now than how it was 5 years ago. This time my approach has been more of a face-to-face distribution rather than having agents in between in a way. And we were particularly interested to create a multilingual sharing environment to reflect on this changing dynamics of the city. And we hope that it serves as a welcoming gesture to the possible Arabic-speaking artists currently based in Istanbul. Fanzine as a format is one of sincerity. It has the space for I as the singular personal pronoun, I as the speaking subject, right at the heart of it. It is able to create a space for coincidence and possibilities. It creates its own small, unique reading and sharing public around it. It might be tiny, but it is still a sharing public. And as an artist, my interest lies in the printed word and the sense of belonging that's created through it. My curiosity was triggered some 15 years ago when I read Imagined Communities by Benedict Anderson. And many of my recent works are all triggered by this curiosity. The sense of belonging is one emotion that shapes our world in a major way. Our common shared language on this panel is English. And in reference to this shared language, I have one last note. Ivan Illich and Barry Sanders, in their book, The Alphabetization of Popular Minds, complains a little bit about English. They write that in different languages there are different we and there are different they that exist in different languages. We as the first person plural pronoun has a history of its own. Illich and Sanders give examples from different languages. For example, some languages have a time dimension in their V. Some languages include people who are no longer living into their V. And for example, Bantu tongues distinguish between the V that has already come into being and the V that is hoped for. For example, Mongols and the EV can place the dimension of hope into the pronoun. Therefore, they have something in between V and U, something that has the potential to become a budding and a promising V in itself. I leave it at this, and once again, I'd like to thank all the contributors of Apricots from Damascus, and as well as Apricots City A4. And for our first session, I'd like to invite the speakers.